Hello. Thank you for joining me again today, guys. This is, of course, the second one of the 3 lives that are being done this week, all to do with how to have the career that you love without leaving the job that you hate. So I hope everybody is very well. I hope you've had a very good Tuesday and a very good Wednesday. And we're close to Friday, so that can't be bad, can it? So I hope everybody's very well, and I'd just like to welcome everybody again. I'm so pleased to have you with me. Right, okay, so today, first of all, today I promise you, is going to be a lot shorter than it was on Tuesday. That was because that was the first one. As we go along, it becomes a little bit easier. So today will be a lot shorter. It will probably be under just around the 15-minute mark. And what I'm going to do today, just to give you an idea about what I'm going to do today. So first of all, I'm going to start with a recap just a very brief recap of what we discussed at the end of Tuesday, at the end of the live on Tuesday. Then I'm going to go into what makes us happy at work and how to use all of those ingredients, how to use all of those amazing ingredients to craft our jobs. Then I go into, exactly as I mentioned, how do we apply these amazing things into the tasks, which, if you remember, were the third part of job crafting. If you remember, the first part was perception, second part was relational, and the third part was tasks. So we take all of these ingredients about how to make us happy, and we see how to apply them to one of the major parts of job crafting, which is tasks. How can we apply these ingredients, as I mentioned, to these tasks to make us that much happier at work? And that's what job crafting is for the task section. So for the recap, if you remember, at the end of Tuesday, I asked you to do 2 things for me. One was reframe the perspective of what you think your organization does in a positive way. And as I mentioned, there must be something positive about what your organization does. And in a way, as I mentioned, in a way that's meaningful to you. It has to be meaningful to you. So as I gave an example on that particular day about the library, now, for all of us, different things mean meaning, they are meaningful. So, for example, what I mean by that is, for somebody like me, what I would love about an organization like a library is the fact that it serves as a base for the community. It brings people together. Or it would be that it's an organization that helps educate young children. So for me, that is what would add meaning to that. Now, for somebody else who's for whom environment is very close to their heart, what they would find meaningful about working for a library or being with a library is the fact that if people can come and read the books there, it just makes our environment so much greener, or something along those lines. So it has to be meaningful to you. Positive reframe, but meaningful to you. And the second thing which I asked you to do was reframing your role within the organization to make it more positive and to understand the significance that you hold in your organization. Because as I said, you do, even if you realize it, you may realize or you may not realize, you do. And this is something that's going to become very obvious as we go along. It's going to become even more obvious what I mean by that. Lastly, I asked you to list down all the tasks that you do in the course of your work and to list them in a way, pictorially, so to draw squares and to list down what you do in them. And to do them in a way which is how much time you give that. So the more time that you give a particular task, you draw a bigger square. And the less time that you give something, you give it a smaller square. So I hope all of you have done that, have had the time to do that. And now we're going to carry on from there. So, did you notice, I'm sure you probably did, but did you notice that the tasks which had the smallest squares were probably the stuff that you enjoy the most? And the ones that had the largest ones are probably not something that you enjoy that much. So, I mean, just with that one step, you can see that what can you change to make you happier at work, which I'll come into in more detail. But I think it's interesting that you can, and it's because you draw it out, you can see so quickly that where you're spending your time and then maybe what's not making you happy in what you're doing at the moment. Now, the next step is, which would have been nice if I had asked you to do at the end of the last one, but I didn't want to overwhelm you, was that if you can separate the tasks that you have in front of you into the tasks which you like doing and the tasks which you don't like doing. So if you could just do that very quickly for me, please. I'll about, I think 15 seconds, I think should be enough. Yeah. So just separate out the tasks that you like and on the other side, the tasks that you don't like. Okay, great. And now we're going to park that there. We're going to park that there for now. We're now going to go into what makes us happy. If you remember, I mentioned Dr. Seligman. I don't know whether it's Seligman or Seligman. So, and he pronounces it differently in different places, so I'm not quite sure. So, but it's pronounced Seligman. So it's spelt Seligman, so I'm going to say Seligman. So I mentioned to you that Dr. Seligman is a pioneer of a field of psychology called positive psychology. And I went into that a little bit. Positive psychology is all about what makes us happy. So if you apply that to an organizational setting, what makes us happy at work? So positive psychology has a model as to what makes us happy. The model is called PERMA. That is PERMA. The P stands for positive emotion. The E stands for engagement. The R stands for relationships. The M stands for meaning. And the A stands for accomplishments. Now, please do go and see this. It is quite interesting, and you're more than welcome to go and investigate after we finish this live. So that's a model. Now, the one that I really want to talk to you about in that is the E, engagement. What do we mean by engagement? So what positive psychology thinks engagement is, what it describes engagement to be, is when time stops. When you're so engrossed in what you're doing and it's so enjoyable, or you're so engrossed in what you're doing in a good way, the time literally stops. Or it's you suddenly look up at the clock and it's like 2 hours have gone. It's like, where did that time go? Because you just enjoyed what you did so much. That's called engagement. Now, luckily, that as well can be split further. It can be, thank you, Governor. So it can be split further. When we say engagement, what we mean by that, when that state is called flow. That is when time stops for us. So that happens when our signature strengths, and all of us have different ones. So our signature strengths are being engaged against challenges or in tasks which we really, really enjoy. So that leads me to the point that what are our 5 signature strengths? That's what you need to find out. Because knowing your 5 signature strengths will help you apply them at work. And I'm going to come to how to apply them, but first we need to know how to identify them. Now, there's a number of ways you can do that. I'm just going to describe 3 quite briefly. The first one is the Myers-Briggs test. I'm sure quite a lot of you are probably aware with the Myers-Briggs test. So the Myers-Briggs test basically is it's a list of questions, and then they, on different parameters, they classify people as introverted, extroverted, sensing or feeling, intuitive, or I've forgotten one of them, and then whether somebody is feeling or judging. So not the way we normally think about judging, but that is it. Please do look at that test. If you've never looked at it, it's quite a good indicator. But the only drawback with Myers-Briggs is that it's kind of polarized. So the thing is that in the first category of introverted or extroverted, the questions are kind of yes, no, because they want to try and put you into one of the two sets. Now, I know that anybody who practices Myers-Briggs is probably very angry with me right now for saying that, but I'm sorry for saying that. But I'm just, if you were doing it by yourself, so an introvert basically is somebody who gets energy from being alone. That's when they start feeling energized. Whereas an extrovert is somebody who is energized by being with other people. That's the difference between an introvert and an extrovert. And of course, as everything else, neither is bad, it's just who we are. So there's nothing to do with, one is better than the other and all of that nonsense. Now I can see that we're coming up to about 12 minutes already. So I'm afraid I am going to have to add on, because I don't want to go through the key parts too quickly. So I am going to have to take at least another 8 minutes. But I will try and be quicker. But I really want you guys to get the most from this. So that's a Myers-Briggs. The second one is something called Clifton Strengths. Clifton Strength Finders. Now this used to be Gallup Strength Finders. And why it was called Gallup Strength Finders is because every single employee that joined Gallup, I'm sure most of you know what Gallup is, the company, but most of the people who joined Gallup, all people who joined Gallup, were asked to do that particular test. Now what that test does is that it identifies your 34 strengths. What are your 34 strengths? And especially, what are your 5 top strengths? Now, your 5 top strengths are your signature strengths, and all of us will be different. So just to give you an idea, the chances of anybody else having the same order as you in terms of strengths is 1 in 295 undecimal, which I had to learn the word for that because I had no idea what to do with 36 zeros. So if you like to think about it this way, the chances of anybody else the chances of somebody having the same strengths as you is 295 trillion. And we're about 7 billion people in the world. So you can imagine that's like nobody. So you are unique. You are genuinely unique, not just because your mom told you actually are unique. So, and so, if just going back to what we were saying earlier, when you say, I'm not significant, yes, you are, because there is literally nobody like you in the world. It's just that you haven't applied yourself yet. You haven't brought yourself yet to the table. That's why you think that. Now, for the only problem with Clifton Strength Finders, and which is why I'm going to explain it, but that's why I've explained it, but it is completely up to you whether to go for it or not, is because it's a paid for test. I think for the top 5, it's something like $20. Now, the thing is that, if you would like, please go for it. I'm just mentioning what it is. But there is another one that I feel which is free and is quite a good indicator as well. So the next one, to find out your strengths, again, you can get your top 5 strengths. Actually, no, it gives you the order of. Now, okay, so this is called VIAIS. That is values in action inventories. So what that does is it takes a 24 character strengths. Again, everything is divided into 24 character strengths, and then everything is ranked. Now, what's good about Clifton and what's good about this one is that there is no either or. So we're good at all 24 of VIA, for example. We are good at all 24, but what are we best at? So again, you can get the ranking for free, and you can get that in, I think that it's called VIA. I'll get the website for you, but it's, if you put in VIA, it will come up. Values in Action, it will come up. You can also get it from Authentic Happiness, the website called Authentic Happiness, which is run by Dr. Siegelman. Again, it's free. That's why I'm recommending it. It's free. So you can get to know your top 5 strengths for free. Obviously, if you want more details, there are other paid for reports, and you can go for that if that's something you would like to do. But you can get the top 5 free. So these 24 strengths are divided into strengths of knowledge, strengths of transcendence, strengths of courage, strengths of justice, strengths of temperance, and there is one more. So, for example, for me, I don't remember the order exactly, but I think for me it was humor, creativity, curiosity, kindness, and social intelligence were my top 5 strengths. So when I say I want to bring myself to something, that means I want to bring these 5. Because it's when I use these 5 strengths in whatever I'm doing, do I start to create a sense of flow. I start to create a sense of engagement. Because these are so intrinsic to me that they are part of me. So your top 5 strengths are what you need to bring to work. How to do that is something we'll talk about just now as well. But you need to bring those top 5, okay? The second thing is passions. So what is it that really interests you? What is it that what interests you? As simple as that, okay? For some people, it could be technology. For some people, it could be music. For some people, it doesn't matter. Write down the 3 top interests that you have. The top 3 interests or passions, whichever way you like to look at it. Now, the third thing is something called unanswered callings. A lot of us feel that we have a calling, something we were born to do. Now, the thing about this unanswered calling. So for some people, they may believe that they have been born to create music. Some people will be born to create singing, and they're right. When they don't get to practice that is when it becomes unanswered, and that makes us quite sad. As human beings, that makes us quite sad. But there is a way of bringing that as well to work. So, this thing that you enjoy doing more than anything else in the world, let's say you were born to sing, you can bring that to work. You can, and I will explain how. In fact, I want to explain the one story, just a very brief story about this amazing lady that I met at a talk 2 days ago in the evening. Now, she has the most beautiful voice I've ever heard, I think. She's a singer. Now, she always had the calling to be a singer. What she did is that she became a teacher. Now, she kept thinking that singing, that teaching was a side job for her. It was a side thing. She's meant to be a singer. She's going to be a singer. And this other thing is, I'm doing this because I have to, because of money. Until she brought singing to work. She brought singing to work by becoming the voluntary choir mistress, the head of the choir. She brought the thing which is most fundamental to her as a person to work. Guess what happened? She flourished. She actually recently won the most inspirational singer or something like that in the UK. She is so good at what she does in terms of the choir. She leads a choir internationally. They actually have to fly out to different countries and go and sing in different countries because they take part in competitions. And the third thing is, she shared the story about around Christmas. So the kids were asked, guys, what do you love? What is it that you're so thankful? What are you thankful for? And one of the kids said, I'm thankful that you're my music teacher. Isn't that amazing? She created that difference in her life by bringing her calling to work. That's what she did. She stopped seeing it as something separate and she brought it to work. That's all. So just to recap again, engagement, which is made up of our strengths. So strengths, our signature strengths, which is our top five strengths. Second, our interests or our passion. Bring that to work. Third, our unanswered callings. Bring that to work. Now I come to the part of how. How can we do that? Okay. That list I asked you to make of the tasks that you like and the tasks that you don't like, this is how we go about it now. In terms of your unanswered calling, put on your creative hat. What could you do? Like I said, for her, it was singing. For some people, it may be, they just have this gift of being, just cheer people up. They're just lifters. They're just uplifting people. So what can somebody like that do? They could probably start voluntary classes to do with yoga. Or it doesn't have to be yoga. Positive psychology, whatever it is, they could bring that to work. There is nothing that is a calling that you cannot bring to work. I challenge you, okay? Please listen. I challenge you to give me something. I will try and think of anything and how you can make it into something that you can bring to work. For example, for me, I love speaking. So I wish I'd known about this technique, because at my old job, then I would have brought it to work, but I didn't know about this technique. So now I know. I would have found places where I could do more speaking. So whatever your calling is, bring it to work. That's for the unanswered calling. Second thing, that's to do with your passions. Okay. How do you bring your interests or your passions to work? Let's say one of your interests or passion is technology. And let's say that you work in the HR department. One way in which you could bring your interest and combine it with your work is to somehow start using technology for your job. So that could mean advertise, when you're next looking for people, you advertise meaning you put it out on social media. You make this amazing thing about, okay, these are the things we want. This job is amazing. Please get in touch with me. And you put it on social media, and that recruiters the candidates can come straight to you. That is combining your interest with your work, interest with job. Now, the first 5 signature strengths. How do you do that? Look at the things you don't like doing and see how you can apply those things. Maybe you have a boss you hate with a vengeance. I have to be a bit careful about what I say on this. So, but they're just a wanker, basically. Right? You can't do anything about it. They just are. If one of your strengths is curiosity, become curious. How would you apply that to this situation? How would you apply fairness to the situation? How would you apply kindness to the situation? How would you apply gratitude to the situation? I know it's a bit of a far-fetched, but if your signature strength is gratitude, as soon as I'm saying it, you will find a way. Because for you, that's natural. So for anything that you don't enjoy, Bring your signature strength into it. I promise you, it will become a lot easier to tolerate. And I'm sorry, I know I've gone a lot above, but you see, because I really do want to try and make sure I give you as much content as I can in each and every session. Now we have one more session left on Saturday, by the end of which, as I promised you, you will be able to walk away with an action plan. So for today, what would I like you to do? I would like you to find out your signature strengths, your 5 signature strengths. I would like you to list down your 3 passions or 3 interests. What is your calling? Please list down your calling, whether it was to be a musician, whatever it was, just put that down, okay? List down all of these things. Look at the tasks that you do. Delete the tasks which make you extremely unhappy, if you can. If you cannot, apply your signature strengths to them. It will make those tasks so much better. To the jobs that you already love doing, apply your signature strengths to making them even more enjoyable. So emphasize the stuff that you love doing anyway. Your passions, what can you add or what can you readapt out of your tasks to include your passion? And lastly, what can you do to include your calling as part of your job? Now, there's a couple of things that I just want you to be a bit careful about. Please don't end up adding so much that it becomes stressful for you. The second thing, slow but steady is the way to go. So even if you come up with the list, you look at your task, and there's only maybe one thing that you can straight away see about how to change or how to use these things at work, do it. It doesn't have to be 20 different things, because let's be honest, you can't do that. Even if it's only one, the difference it will make to your experience of your job is remarkable. Okay, so please, even if it's just one, just do one. Okay? And I will see you guys again on Thursday at 1 p.m. I'm sorry it's taken so much time again, but as I said, I don't want to give you half-baked stuff and then, it's something you listen to and then you don't know how to go about it. I don't want to do that to you guys. So I want you to understand the methodology and the how. So that's why I'm going so much over time, but I will try to kind of scale back. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. And I so look forward to seeing you for my last Facebook Live on Saturday. Sorry. Thank you. Bye guys. Bye.